Welcome to HR Voices, a podcast for independent HR and people professionals and the businesses they support. HR Voices is brought to you by the expert team at HR Independence Limited. We hope you enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the HR Voices podcast, the show for independent HR and people professionals and the businesses we support. I'm your host, Mary Asante from HR Independent, and today we're taking a step back to reflect. This is a special recap edition looking at some of the most powerful conversations we've had recently, from episode 53 to 57. And let me tell you, these episodes have been some of our most real, relatable, and transformational yet. Before we dive in, I would like to highlight HR Independent, HRI's annual flagship event, the HR Indies annual conference, happening live in London on October 10th. So Friday, 10th of October in London. It will be amazing to see you all there. I still remember last year when we announced it was time for lunch, someone saying, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize how fast the time was going." This is actually the first conference that I've been to. I've not sat there clock watching, looking at my clock, thinking, "Oh my goodness, when are we going to take a break," etc. So I would like to personally invite you, and on behalf of HRI, to join us on the 10th of October for our conference. Would love to see you there. Whether you are tuning in for the first time or you've been following along, this is your shortcut to some truly valuable insight all in one place. Let's start with episode 53, where I was joined by the brilliant Kate McMahon, founder of Task HR. We talked all things psychometrics, but with a twist. Katie helped us to see beyond tests and tools and into how psychometrics, when used properly, can really empower individuals, enhance team dynamics, and support leaders to grow. She reminded us that accreditation matters and that psychometrics should never be used to pigeonhole people, but rather to open up new conversations. A big takeaway from Katie: self-awareness is at the heart of any meaningful change, personal or professional. I think what landed most for me in this episode was how Katie connected psychometrics back to something very human: growth. It's not about labeling people, it's about helping them understand themselves and each other better. That's a huge opportunity for us in HR. How can HR consultants make the best use of psychometric tools as part of the consultancy services they offer to their clients?
So as an HR consultant, the first thing is actually making sure or choosing an appropriate tool that you can be accredited in. So that's the first thing. Going back on being properly trained, that's something that you need to make sure that, so that first of all, you're going in there as a trained, qualified person, and that's obviously going to give you that credibility with clients as well. And then really it's talking to your clients and thinking about and exploring potential opportunities where actually these psychometrics can add value. And that's what we're looking to do here. It's not doing things for the sake of doing things. It's where can they actually add value to a process. I think a key part is to say they shouldn't form the whole process. So they shouldn't be the only tool that's used in recruitment. They shouldn't be the only tool that's used for development purposes. But looking at things from a holistic perspective, they can really add value. I think so. Working with your clients, understanding what it is that they're wanting to achieve and looking for those opportunities.
Next up, Pippa Tanko joined us for episode 54. And wow, what a refreshing take on visibility. As a brand photographer and visibility coach, Pippa flipped the script on what it means to show up online. It's not about perfection, it's about connection. We talked about using your story, not just your image, to attract the right clients. We talked about how fear can actually be a compass that points to the next bold move in your business. If you've ever hesitated to show the human behind your professional brand, this episode will give you the permission and the strategy to start. People made me think about how often we try to present the perfect version of ourselves, but really, it's our story, our full story, that builds trust. Visibility doesn't mean being everywhere. It means being real where it counts. You also talked about the fact that visibility or being yourself can be a business strategy.
Yeah, for sure, because as we said, there's nobody else quite like you, right? So people buy from people, but they buy from people that they know, they like, they trust. So if you are building that know, like, and trust online, in person, it's easy. You go to a networking meeting, you meet someone, you just click, you get that back and forth. But online, it takes a little bit longer. So having that visibility and building that know, like, and trust means that you can take someone from having no idea that they might need your services to needing your services just through the education, getting to know you, building that know, like, and trust, and using it to take them through the buyer's journey to the point where they then think, right, I actually need an HR person in my business. I didn't realize how much I needed them, but I'm having these issues that all are telling me. And Mary has been showing up online. She's been sharing her stories. I really get her. I really like her. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to her and see if she's available to help me with my HR. And I think that's where it becomes more of a business strategy, is when you are showing up as yourself, sharing your knowledge, showing how you can help people, and then they almost get to a point where they feel like they know you because they've seen so much of your content online, and that trust is there, and they'll reach out and then book you.
Episode 55 took us into deep waters with Linda Gent, executive coach and seasoned HR professional. We tackled the big one, limiting beliefs. That voice in your head that says, you are not ready, you are not enough. That's what we explored. Linda gave us the practical tools to recognize, reframe, and release those beliefs, and reminded us that confidence is a skill, not just a trait. She also broke down the common archetypes of imposter syndrome and helped us to realize we are not alone in feeling like we have to be perfect. A big takeaway: leadership is a team sport. You don't have to know everything, you just have to show up authentically. I saw myself in a lot of what Linda shared, and I know many of you will too. The inner critic can be loud, but it doesn't have to run the show. What stood out for me was the idea that confidence grows through action, not waiting until you feel ready. For anyone who's looking at how they go from limiting beliefs to building confidence, what will be your top 3 tips?
So I think I've touched on most of these. The last one I haven't mentioned actually, but my kind of takeaway for everybody is to reflect, reframe, and rejoice.
Right.
So reflection I've spoken about, and however that works for you, whether it's journaling or just some self-talk or some post-it notes, but doing that on a fairly regular basis. Reframing, so that I don't know how to do that yet, and thinking about the words you use for yourself, and so reframing things into a more positive light. And the rejoice is to make sure you reward yourself and you acknowledge and rejoicing in the positive things that happen in your day. So, take time to reflect, discipline yourself to reframe, because that takes some hard work and some conscious thought, and don't forget to rejoice in the things that have gone well.
In episode 56, we welcomed the incredible Charlie Hart, neurodiversity speaker, advocate, and HR professional. Awesome Charlie. Charlie brought both lived experience and deep expertise to the table as we talked about what true neurodiversity inclusion looks like in the workplace. Spoiler, it's not about token policies. It's about people, from respecting communication preferences to changing how we run interviews. Charlie showed us how small actions can lead to huge impact. And if you only take one thing away from this episode, let it be this: believe people when they share their needs. That's the foundation of inclusive culture. This episode really stayed with me. I'm sure those of you who have listened to various episodes where we've talked about neurodiversity, neuroinclusion, etc., I've shared my personal story of having a teenager who is both autistic and has got ADHD, or DHD, as now the term has been coined. Basically, it's a very personal story because I've witnessed day in, day out the impact on my daughter and also on our family as a whole. Charlie reminded me that inclusion isn't something we talk about in policy. It's something we practice in conversations, in how we listen, and in the everyday choices we make. Small changes really do make big differences. What does inclusion mean?
Yeah, so to me, inclusion means you've got a seat at the table, so you're in there, but you're not tolerated, you're wanted. So if people embrace the neurodiversity within the workforce and they acknowledge that it's a good thing that people think and feel and process differently, and we are accommodated and believed and accepted for who we are without expecting us to mask and perform normal, then they can leverage all of the positives that come with that diversity of thought. It's also the right thing to do, though. It's the right thing to do to accept people with all kinds of differing characteristics. It will be good for your reputation and your employer value proposition. So increasingly we find the younger generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, the workforce of the future, expect their needs to be accommodated and for them to not be treated in a very normative way. So they expect work to fit into their life, and they care about things like social impact and corporate social responsibility. So if you do have a neuro-inclusion strategy, that will make you a more attractive employer to that generation. It helps people to thrive within their roles, which is good for turnover and progression as well. So we want people with all kinds of minds and different ideas and perspectives at the top levels of organisations. There's no point having a board if they all think alike. So it's like any other kind of diversity, it's just a really good idea. But with neurodiversity, many of the things that you can do to make a workplace, an employment situation more neuro-inclusive, many of them are really cheap or free and easy to implement and can actually benefit far more people than you might realise.
And finally, in episode 57, I spoke with Mike Pagan, executive coach and passionate advocate for what he calls mental wealth. We had a powerful conversation about the reality of executive isolation, especially for those of us in leadership, consulting, or solo work. Mike challenged us to audit our support networks, ask who really has our back, and to remember that self-care isn't selfish. It's foundational, it's fundamental to our mental wealth. He left us with one unforgettable call to action. Pick up the phone, don't wait. One phone call can change someone's life, including yours. This episode felt personal. As HR professionals, we hold space for others. But how often do we check in on ourselves? Mike's message reminded me to nurture my very own network and to reach out when someone's on my mind. Connection is a responsibility we all share. So if you're listening to me now, pick up the phone, check on a friend, check on a family member, check on somebody whose name might pop up in your mind as you're listening, or someone you haven't checked, you've been meaning to check on for a very long time. I would like to end the episode with your top 3 tips.
Top 3 tips. Okay. First one, go through and do that mental wealth team, that support network review. Yeah, that's the first thing, because when we do that review, you start to see the reality of who truly has your back and who doesn't, and just gives you a baseline for today. And then every 3 months going forward, reflect and do that again. So that's tip number 1. And there's loads more scope of where you can get more information on that particular tool. It's part of it. The other one then is really specifically understanding, why do people not ask for help within the organization? What is the prevention? So whether you be a multinational, whether you be an SME, whatever size it is, you've got people in there that are refusing to ask for help. And we need to create an environment of psychological safety where that setup will happen. Be that through peer groups, mastermind groups, be that through one-to-one coaching that we provide, or be that however we do it, we've got to help manifest that situation. And if you haven't got that area set up for yourself either, then be selfish. Look after number one first. Test it. Then you know it works with this environment. Now we can roll it out across the company. So that's the other one. And then tip number 3 is pick up the phone. Do not text. I know you said text earlier. Do not text. Do not tweet or X them or whatever it is. Better still, if you live locally, go and see them. You do not know what is going on in somebody else's background where that phone call could be all the difference. Just do that thing. So as a result of this, listening to this today, I want you to make specifically one call. And I just finished with one story there. I did a talk last month where I said this to everybody. I want you to pick up the phone to one person. I found out that day about a particular person who was unfortunately going through some very ugly cancer, but it had come on in a 6-week period. That quickly. I had a 45-minute conversation with him on the phone that night. He was gone a week later. If I'd procrastinated, stalled, or whatever else, I'd have missed that opportunity. We'd have missed the catch up and everything else. We really need to just think of that human social responsibility and be brilliant human beings. What one person could do with a bit of Mikey, could do with a bit of Mary, could do with a bit of whoever you are, and just do that, make the difference.
Across these 5 episodes, some clear and powerful themes emerged. The first is self-awareness is the first step towards leading others. Next is authenticity is more than a buzzword. It is a business strategy. Inclusion needs to be lived, not just written. Conclusion, the next bit is confidence can be built with the right tools. And the last theme is support networks are essential, not optional. When I look across all these conversations, one message keeps coming up. We are whole people. And our work in HR must reflect that. When we bring our full selves to the table with honesty, compassion, and courage, we give others permission to do the same. If you missed any of those episodes or just want a refresher, they are all available now via your favorite podcast platform and on the HR Independence YouTube channel. So you can find us HR Voices on Spotify, Apple Pay, Apple YouTube, on other platforms. And if this recap sparked something in you, I'd love to hear from you. Drop us a note at hrvoices@hrindependent.co.uk or connect via hrindependent.co.uk, or even better, if you prefer to connect in person, come along to the HR Indies conference on the 10th of October at 15 Hatfields in London. I would love to meet you and to catch up with you. And as always, if you found this helpful, Please subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with your HR and business community. Let's keep growing, supporting, and showing up as professionals, yes, but more importantly, also as humans. Thank you for listening. I'm Mary Asante, and this has been HR Voices. See you next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of HR Voices. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover or would like to be a guest, we'd love to hear from you. Connect with us on social media or email us at hrvoices@hrindependence.co.uk. Tune in next time.